yes. Anything I can do to have an excuse to play Aretha Franklin is good with me. You gotta love Miss Aretha. Thank you all for listening. This is the second hour. It is almost time for me to get up on out of here. It's 7:31 already. So please give me a call, 219-885-1371. That number again, 219-885-1371. Before the Happy Happies and our tribute to the father, the patriarch of gospel music, the incomparable Thomas A. Dorsey, we had a very spirited decision about crime and violence in our communities and what causes it, and it was very spirited. I didn't think I was going to be able to fill a full segment with that, and I ended up going so far over that I didn't even get to play commercials to the 7:06. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, to 7:30 almost. Whew, man, that was a very good, very, very good discussion. But when I talk about the system here in America and about the choices of the people in power, okay, it is because I look at empirical data, okay? I look at numbers, statistics, facts. I look at things that can be measured. I don't go by what I feel. I go by statistics, data, and looking at what's going on around the world, what works in the world and what doesn't work in the world, and what's worked in this country. As I've stated, Jews and Italians, the Irish, white people had plenty of street crime for many years until we ended prohibition and stopped putting economic restrictions on their communities. Then magically they stopped committing all the street crime. America keeps prohibition in our communities and keeps economic restrictions on us, and then we say rappers are the reason that we have crime. Okay? But, folks, one of the countries that I always look at, one of the places I always look at for how a society can be run, and it's almost become a meme, people on the left looking at Scandinavia, particularly as models of what social democracies can look like when you have societies that are not built on a military-industrial complex and a prison-industrial complex and the whims of billionaires who benefit from having a military-industrial complex and a prison-industrial complex. I came across a story this week that piqued my interest a little bit. I found that Denmark, which is the Scandinavian country squished between Germany and Sweden, is ranked the easiest place to do business in the entire world, according to the recently published Global Business Complexity Index. The report explains that in Denmark, you can incorporate a company within a day due to the fact there is one single entry point for all registrations and all necessary bodies. So on the Global Competitiveness Index, they're also number one because they continue to demonstrate exceptional competitiveness. The country's efficient utilization of markets and trading partners continues to its success. Meanwhile, the United States, we are in gradual decline, according to the Global Competitiveness Index. We held the top position uninterrupted from 97 to 2009 and had not fallen out of the top three until 2017. And now we are in 10th place and have been there for the last few years. If we look at the Global Livability Index, the top 10 cities in the world, the top 10 cities in the world in terms of Global Livability Index, number one is Vienna, Austria, but number two is Copenhagen, Denmark. Copenhagen, Denmark also tops the list of cities with the best work-life balance. They receive high scores on several lifestyle-related aspects, including being the second happiest city in the world and the top-ranked city for gender equality on the Gender Inequality Index. Denmark is also renowned for its flexible working hours. a minimum of 5 weeks of annual leave. They have low unemployment rates, only 2.4%, and a 52-week parental leave split for both parents. Now, in the global livability index, guess how many cities the United States had on it? None. Not in the top 10. No, you don't see any American cities in the top 50. Atlanta is the highest on the index, coming in at number 52 globally. This significant contrast to other European countries is the result of, among many things, a lack of legally mandated paid annual leave and maternity leave for employees in the United States. When we're looking at freedom of the press, something I talk about a lot because, mass media may mean something to me being here on the radio. And I've talked about the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that Bill Clinton signed, where basically we went from having lots of independently owned media, even in black communities, to virtually no independently owned media, which is why places like WLTH, owned by Marion Williams, is so important, and why you have to support WLTH and people like Marion Williams. Because after 1996, Clear Channel and other media conglomerates bought up all the radio stations, the TV stations, the newspapers, and now they are all mega conglomerates. They're all controlled by mega conglomerates. The reason I can say and do what I do here on this show and at WLTH, and have been able to do it for the last 7 years, is because this is an independently owned station. That's why it's important for you guys to support WLTH. But because of this, we are no longer in the top 5 or even top 10 or even top 20 of freedom of the press anymore. Number 1 is Norway. Number 2 is Ireland. Number 3 is, you guessed it, Denmark. When it comes to which countries work the least hours per year of the richest countries in the world, the OECD countries, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, number 1 is Germany. Germans work on average 1,349 hours a year. Number 2, Denmark. They work 1,363 hours a year. The United States, top 10, top 20, or no, 33rd. Americans work almost 1,800 hours per year. Denmark has the highest minimum wage, average wage in the world. If you work at McDonald's in Denmark, you will make $23 an hour. You will have 5 weeks of vacation time every year. And the Big Mac is only 50% more in Denmark than it is here in the United States of America. We're talking about the most peaceful countries in the world. Number 1 is Iceland, which isn't that surprising. You look at where Iceland is. It's like, it's out there in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere. And I'm sure most people probably couldn't even find it on a map. But number 2, Denmark. When it comes to social mobility, the thing that America prides itself on, America tells itself that because America, everything is about individual choices, that in America, you can go from nothing to something quicker than anywhere else and better than anywhere else in the world. So social mobility refers to the movement of individuals either up or down the socioeconomic ladder relative to their current standing, such as low-income family moving up or to become part of the middle class. Countries with high level of social mobility exhibit lower levels of income inequality and provide more equally shared opportunities for its citizens across each of the 5 pillars. So where can you go from poor to rich the quickest? Anybody want to guess what number 1 is? Denmark. Anybody want to guess where the United States of America is? It's 27th. America has social mobility worse than Lithuania, Portugal, Estonia, and Singapore, and Malta. It is easier to go from poor to rich in Malta than it is in the United States of America. So I know a lot of you are saying, how are they able to do this in a country, some other country? This is a rich country. How come they can have nice things? How come they can have a peaceful, happy, healthy society while we live in places where every 4th of July turns into Friday the 13th or Amityville across America's cities? Well, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Denmark has one of the highest tax rates in the world. The annual income is about $43,000, and the average Dane pays a total of about 45% of income in their taxes. Their income taxes are based on a progressive tax system. So if you make more than about $67,000 a year, you pay an additional tax rate of 7%. Nevertheless, a Gallup survey in 2014 showed that 9 out of 10 people in Denmark happily pay taxes to agree. So why is that? They are investing in a quality of life. The reason behind the high level of support for the welfare state in countries like Denmark is the awareness of the fact that the welfare model turns their collective wealth into well-being. They are not paying taxes. They are investing in their society, something that Americans have been taught that we don't have to do, especially if you're rich. They are purchasing a quality of life. The key to understanding the high levels of happiness in Denmark is the welfare model's ability to reduce risk, uncertainties, and anxieties amongst its citizens and prevent extreme unhappiness. You know, like how we have a record number of drug overdoses every year for the last 3 years. Or how suicide rates have risen amongst every group of people in this country. Over the last decade. Unhappiness. Even children, you got people taking their lives all over the place. The Danish welfare model provides opportunities for its citizens to pursue their happiness from advanced starting positions disregarding economic, social, gendered, or cultural backgrounds. Let me give you some examples. Education is free, even at the university level. There is no tuition fee. Meanwhile, every Danish student receives around $900 per month from the state. This means that you won't have to worry about how to finance your child's college education. It will be their talents and dreams that shape their careers, not how much money you make. The Danish laws for parental leave are among the most generous in the world, with a total of 52 weeks, as I stated earlier. of which parents can receive up to 32 weeks of monetary support from the state. Furthermore, most employees have 5 weeks of vacation time, allowing families and friends to spend quality time with each other. There is free quality health care. I repeat, free quality health care for everyone. And the welfare model works at as a risk reducing mechanism. They simply have less to worry about in daily life than most people, and that forms a sound basis for high levels of happiness. The Danish labor market is based on flexibility for employers, security for workers, and an active labor market policy. These elements in combination constitute the golden triangle of flex security, working out to the mutual benefit of all parties involved. Also, an active labor market policy is meant to help keep both the employed and the unemployed active and skilled. For workers, there are many opportunities for the ongoing development of useful skills and continued education. For the unemployed, the active labor market policy provides services assisting with the job search, keeping those out of the workforce actively engaged in applying for a new job. In a research paper from 2010, it was shown that even the poorest people in Denmark are happier than the poorest Americans, since the poorest people in Denmark enjoy a wide range of public social benefits that the poorest Americans do not. While the difference is between the wealthiest people in each country is very little. That is why Denmark is one of the countries where people feel most resilient to changes and least anxious in their daily lives. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Choices. You put the choices on the individuals. I say it is the government. All the people in Denmark did not just decide not to do crime. They just don't decide not to sell drugs, smoke drugs, drink. They don't decide just not to beat their wives or not to beat their kids. The social pressures that make people succumb to those things are not a part of their lives. So they just don't. They're happier, healthier people because their society has made choices to make sure that everybody has health care, to make sure everybody is educated, to make sure if you have a job, it is a job that will pay you a living wage, and where your boss can't just screw you over and fire you because for any reason. They don't have right to work laws in Denmark. You better believe that. The inner cities of America do not just have all the bad people in them. Everybody did not just decide to stop raising their children right. Everybody didn't just decide to start doing drugs or gangbanging or killing each other. Rappers didn't sprinkle some pixie dust over the ghetto in the 80s and 90s and make people start shooting people in the streets. America's been violent since the days of Al Capone, as I talked about earlier in the show. But magically, when we ensured the Jews, the Irish, the Italians job security, when we gave them good neighborhoods, when we gave them the ability to benefit from the system, now we don't associate violent crime with those people anymore. It's funny how that happens. It's funny how that happens. And also, this is in Denmark, but Finland actually ended homelessness. You know, I just heard Juan Andrade, who was here the hour before, talk about, homelessness. How are we going to fix homelessness? Finland ended it. They apply a housing first concept. Those affected by homelessness receive a small apartment and counseling without any preconditions. And 4 out of 5 people affected, thus make their way back into a stable life. And this is cheaper than accepting homelessness. So how do you solve homelessness? Finland just told you. Give people homes and a little bit of counseling. And magically, all that money we spent in Ukraine, all that money we spend on the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex that we give as tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country, could be going to giving homeless people's homes. HUD said that it would take $20 billion to permanently end homelessness in the United States of America. $20 billion. That's about a tenth of what we sent to Ukraine since March of 2022. And y'all want to blame rappers for our problem. I disagree with that. 100%. People listen to rap in Finland. People listen to rap in Canada. People listen to rap in Germany. These, ask Jay-Z if he's not a god in every country that he goes to. He is. Foreigners know rap records even better than American kids do. And they watch violent movies too. And they have violent video games. Canadians have violent video games as well. All the video games that we sell here, they sell them in Japan. Yet Japan has one of the lowest crime rates on the planet and is one of the cleanest societies in the planet. You're absolutely right. Crime and poverty is about choices. But it's not about the choices of the average working person, other than who we continue to keep voting for and who we keep allowing to determine who sets the policy in this country. As long as we continue to have a military industrial complex and a prison industrial complex and decide that the rich getting richer and exploiting the working classes is more important than health care, jobs, and education, then yes, you're going to keep getting what we got the 4th of July. And it's not because everybody just decided to become crappy parents at the same time. Or because everybody became single mothers. Denmark has a much higher single mother rate than America does. Over 50% of the children in Denmark are born to single mothers. One of the highest rates in the world. Pretty much all the highest countries of the world with single motherhood rate are in wealthier countries. Again, we have to decolonize our minds from the corporate media, the corporate press that tells us, oh, black men are the problem, black women are the problem, the homeless are the problem, Hispanics are the problem, this guy over there is the problem. No, the problem is the people in Washington, D.C. The problem is the system. And if you need proof, look at the rest of the world who don't have this system, who don't have a military industrial complex, who don't have a prison industrial complex, who don't allow their billionaire owners in their society to completely exploit and loot the society that they live in. Magically, you can have peace, you can have education, you can have clean streets, you can have safe streets. Now you're gonna pay taxes for them, fine, but you're already paying the taxes. You're already paying for insurance. You're already living a lot shorter lives.